Okay, let's dive right into this finance video by hooking you with a pretty provocative quote from some top internet creators. The only thing you should buy on sale are stocks. It's a bold, maybe even slightly uncomfortable statement, isn't it? But today, we're taking a really close look at the stark, everyday choices that supposedly divide the rich from the poor. And as you'll see, the sources we're exploring claim it's not always about those grand, sweeping life decisions. Instead, it's about the tiny, almost invisible daily habits you repeat. So buckle up and stick with me for this full video, because this gets absolutely fascinating.
Welcome everyone! Today we are unpacking 20 viral claims about the specific habits and hobbies that creators argue basically dictate your financial destiny. We've pulled directly from some of the most popular finance channels out there to impartially see exactly what they believe separates the financially free from, well, everyone else. We're going to lay out their exact arguments so you can evaluate them completely for yourself.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 4 main areas. First, lifestyle and health. Second, managing money. Third, mindset and responsibility. And fourth, high-value hobbies.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Lifestyle and Health, and look at the daily routines that define you.
The sources we looked at argue that lower-income individuals tend to waste crucial hours watching reality television, celebrity gossip, or biased news networks purely as a way to disconnect from their own reality. In stark contrast, they claim the wealthy aim to produce value. They actually want to be the ones on the screen. I mean, think about the difference between binge-watching a sitcom just to numb your brain versus aiming to produce value and build real equity in the world. One is literally escaping the world, the other is owning a piece of it. And this brilliantly illustrates how neglecting your physical health directly caps your professional potential. The creators point out that poor diets, filled with high-sugar fast food, literally drain your energy, limiting your daily output. On top of that, they highlight that simple hygiene like skipping a morning shower can really harm your ability to build trust in a service-based economy. But what about the long term? Ignoring your health doesn't just mean you're tired today. Avoiding regular doctor checkups often leads to catastrophic, late-stage medical bills that can wipe out a family's entire net worth. Boom, gone. Now check out this massive number, $250,000. That is the estimated cost of raising a single child in a developed country. To put that into perspective, it's like buying a house. The creators use this figure to highlight the claim that the wealthy deliberately wait for prime financial conditions before expanding their families. Conversely, they argue that those who are struggling financially often have more kids earlier in life, which compounds their expenses way before they've had a chance to build a stable financial foundation.
Shifting gears a bit, let's look at Section 2, managing money, and specifically the trap of consumerism.
Remember that opening quote? Well, the creators suggest that buying unwanted items just because they are on sale visually signals that you can't afford full price. They argue that spending extreme mental energy trying to stretch a tiny budget like clipping coupons keeps you entirely stuck in a scarcity mindset. This contrasts sharply with the wealthy mindset. The rich supposedly ignore minor conservation and focus entirely on increasing their total income. Actually, to put it simply, they aren't trying to save $5 on a shirt, they're trying to add 5 figures to their monthly revenue. A totally different game.
So the crucial takeaway here is that using credit for non-investments creates an absolutely devastating financial timeline. According to the sources, it usually goes like this. Step 1, desiring a purely consumer item, like a massive TV or an expensive designer jacket. Step 2, you use a credit card or take out a loan to get it immediately. And step 3, suddenly your life starts to spiral down financially because you are now paying high interest on an asset that is rapidly losing its value. You are literally spending money before you've even earned it.
To combat that downward spiral, the wealthy rely heavily on an emergency fund. The creators emphasize that without this critical financial cushion, a sudden emergency, like a broken-down car, forces you to liquidate the few assets you have, or worse, take out terrible, high-interest loans. But for the wealthy, a sudden hit is just a minor inconvenience, easily solved by having cash on hand. Even more importantly, when a sudden market opportunity pops up, only those with cash reserves can actually buy in and seize that moment.
Moving right along to Section 3, Mindset and Responsibility. Who is actually in charge here?
The videos we reviewed draw a really hard line on this topic. They directly contrast the mentality of playing the vulnerable victim against the rich habit of extreme ownership. When a major setback hits, the claim is that poor individuals tend to find an external scapegoat, blaming the economy, their boss, or society in general. The wealthy, however, are said to treat these failures as vital data points. They step back, study the problem objectively, and build systems to protect themselves against it in the future.
And wow, this extends to entertainment too. The sources boldly claim that dedicating countless hours to obsessively watching sports turns you into a passive spectator. You sit back on the couch and criticize the performance of professional athletes while having absolutely zero impact on the actual outcome of the game. The creators argue this trains your brain to be a critic rather than a creator. The wealthy? They don't want to just watch the game. They want to be a player, or better yet, they want to be the owner.
This brings us to what we can call the execution gap. According to the creators, there are strong internal indicators of a mindset that is destined to fail. These include waiting around for handouts or believing society owes you success, letting your brilliant business ideas die in your head because you are too afraid to actually test them. And, interestingly, the sources claim that heavily relying on mythical external forces to miraculously fix your life, rather than depending on your own self-reliance and hard work, is a massive roadblock to accumulating wealth.
All right, for our final section today, Section 4. High-value networking hobbies and the power of proximity. The sources lean really heavily on the classic rule of proximity. You've probably heard this. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you constantly surround yourself with unmotivated people, they will inevitably reinforce your limiting beliefs. It's comfortable, for sure, but it is incredibly dangerous. The creators argue that you absolutely must have the courage to step away from your comfortable legacy crowds to go out and find inspiring peers who will drag you upward. So, how do you actually get around those inspiring peers? Well, the sources list these 5 specific, high-end hobbies as essential cheat codes for placing yourself in the exact same rooms as wealthy decision-makers. They point to golf, where million-dollar deals are done between swings, skiing, where those expensive lift passes act as a literal filter for priceless networking, watch collecting, which serves as a subtle visual signal to get noticed by the right people, tennis, granting you access to highly exclusive club rooms, and finally, high-end wine and whiskey tasting.
Let's wrap this up by evaluating your trajectory.
I'll leave you with this provocative thought from the source material to reflect on. Are your daily habits putting you out on the field, or are you just comfortably watching from the sidelines? Take a hard look at your routines this week, cut the spectator habits, and start building your own value. I really want to thank you for sticking with me and watching this full video all the way to the end. It's that kind of focus and execution that builds real wealth. Thanks for exploring this finance explainer with me, and keep questioning the habits that shape your world.